Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up?
So this is yeah. So this is
I'm JJ. I'm Juan.
Terence.
I'm Jackson.
And Jackson's our guest again today. So if you guys remember from the last video, the bio video, we got another bio one today. We were talking about leopard slugs in the beginning. So
Yeah.
we saw some freaky video on Reddit and had to get to the bottom of this. And we talked about some.
Yeah, like it's basically like part 2 of evolution. Like we kind of like, try to discuss a little bit about like sex. Would you say sex in?
What sex is,
Yeah.
sexual systems.
Yeah.
So it's a kinky episode.
Sex regarding X, Y chromosomes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yeah, so it's a very bio-heavy episode, but with a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely stick around for this one. And I guess, guys, just make sure you subscribe to our channel. Leave us a like, a comment, share the video with whoever you think might be interested. If you got biology friends, share it. And then also follow us.
Whoa, hold on. Shout out to first meme that was created.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the person.
Somebody in Orgo. I don't know. We're taking organic chemistry. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to you. We should have got their name.
Should have got there. I do have it, but I'd have to pull up the image. But shout out to you. You know who you are.
Yeah, and that was on Twitter. And actually, you should also follow us on Twitter.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
at Eigenbros on Twitter. And then also check out our website, which is eigenbros.com, and many, many other things. If you want to do the audio, we're everywhere. So I guess that's it. Did you want to shout anything, Jackson?
No, not
good
really.
to go.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Read a nature paper. Nah.
Yeah. He wishes he had a nature paper. Not yet. But yeah, guys, just stick around and we'll see you in a little bit.
2, 1. Oh, and be careful with
The chords, yeah.
yeah, because the jostling and shit, it'll pick it up.
Yeah, no jostle. Jostle-free zone.
Jostling, yeah.
But yeah, we're back.
We're back. I'll put I'll add the sound effects later in post.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Again, we're in the living room, guys.
Yeah.
Once again.
It's a lot nicer, I think.
And Jackson, of course, is back again, the marine biologist. We'll introduce you in the beginning. So
Yeah, we will.
All right.
But yeah, man, we had to call you out here because I saw some fucked up shit the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I sent you the video. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but
I saw a little bit of it.
I wanted to summon out Jackson because this shit is crazy, man. Maybe we can even watch it. Maybe we should even watch it on your phone.
Yeah,
So,
the link, it was, but wait. The link on to what is it called, that website?
YouTube?
Something with hub, some kind of
Corn Hub?
something,
Corn hub. Corn.
Nah, I got you.
No, not that link.
You're like, dude, check this out. These animals are crazy.
But yeah.
Yeah. What? It was a slug, right?
Yeah, man, it was a leopard slug. So I saw this shit on Reddit. So Reddit had a post where they said, like, look at I forget what it said exactly, but it basically had this link to this video of leopard slugs having sex.
Yeah.
And that shit fucking blew my mind. I was just like, what is happening? They're just...
Yeah.
They just were so different in how they reproduced it, like, fucked me up. I was like, I need Jackson to explain this shit ASAP.
As soon as possible, yeah.
So, yeah. So, we should watch the video. Can you go ahead and start pulling it up in your video?
I should call you ASAP Jackson, dude.
Yeah, but Jackson, did you have any comments on it, man? Do you know anything about leopard slugs in particular?
So I know that leopard slugs are part of an informal group called pulmonates.
Yeah.
And those include essentially all land snails and slugs. It contains several freshwater species as well, and a few marine species. I think it's informal, but I do know that there's a formal group called Panpulmonata. I don't know exactly at what level it is. I don't know if it's an order, super order. But what we do in biology, if we don't know exactly what level taxonomy it's at, or like if it's like species, genus, family, order, et cetera, we just call it a clade.
Clade?
A clade, C-L-A-D-E. And so my undergraduate advisor was working on fixing the clade for a certain group of panpulmonates called Sacoglossa. Those are the slugs I worked on. So I know a lot about their sex. That's literally what I was working on.
Okay.
And That's why I can tell you about leopard slugs. Besides that, I don't know anything about them besides they go down from a string of mucus and mate with their penises flaring out.
Nice. You just spoiled the video.
So that's a video. Maybe we.
No,
can,
it's okay. You can still watch it. It's still crazy.
We can probably superimpose it on the. Well, I don't know. If
we will. I want you to play it now, so while we watch it, we can comment on it, and then we'll just play it on the actual video. We don't care about copyright here, so we'll
care
fuck
about
it.
Copyright, not yet.
Yeah,
right.
But just go ahead and pull it up, Juan. Let's watch it.
Is this narrated by David Attenborough?
Yeah. Actually, Juan, can you hold up that to the microphone so I can just sync the sound audio real easily?
Today we look at the mating sleep.
That's sped up so fast, by the way.
Oh, is it really?
That's mad sped up. Slugs don't move that quickly.
Oh, I should have known. Do they really not?
No, dude. Slugs are slow as shit.
Yeah, it looks pretty sexual.
Midair, they move to the next.
And that fucking macaroni squishing isn't helping.
They're adding the face. Yeah, so you see, like, the slug penises come out the side of their heads.
Same.
So,
yeah.
And I think that's pretty normal. They have this pore at the side of their head that extrudes their genitals.
These grow longer and longer.
I don't know how I feel about that.
To make you uncomfortable. Seeing
Damn, is that really fluorescent? Or is that like dye or something?
I have no clue. That's probably just the actual slug. But yeah, and the slugs I worked on, it came out the right side of their heads.
Sexy.
Now, does that matter, the side?
I have no clue. I just thought of it as something that just exists. That's just how things are. But with Nat Geo and Discovery, you kind of have to take everything not everything, but some of the things they do with a grain of salt, because they like to show very interesting things to intrigue people in science, which is good. It's very good.
Yeah.
But sometimes the things they do aren't exactly the best science. Sometimes the things they promote aren't always the best. It's just interesting.
Right.
And so...
so it could be exaggerated, you mean?
I don't think it's exaggerated. I think that leopard slugs may be the exception to the norm, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
The transfer is complete. Each has been fertilized.
I figured that. I figured that's how they
So
do
right now they're just coming down. The guy's like putting his pants on, getting ready to leave.
He's like, so we should have another date, or
They're all
want to see each other again?
They're
or
all
what?
hermaphroditic.
Oh, damn. He just slid out her DMs like legit. He just falls down.
So,
Yep.
I mean, Terrence and I discussed some reasons for why we think that might actually be taking place. And slugs is kind of weird. You can pretty much, at least in the slugs I worked on, if they got inseminated anywhere, somehow the sperm would find their way to the ovaries of the receiving slug and fertilize it. It didn't matter if it took it in its gut, in its serrata, or these finger-like projections on the back that aid in respiration. Didn't matter. I've seen slugs take it to the face, and you can see the sperm the packet of sperm in their head.
Yeah.
Wow.
For a few hours.
If they just get it on their
before it
skin,
migrates.
if they even get it on just their skin.
I don't know if it's just on their skin. I don't know if the cells can get into their body. I also don't know how effective they are at swimming, because what some animals do, like frogs, some species of frogs will leave like a packet of sperm on the ground after mating with a female. And then the female will go over and essentially sit her cloaca on, and I think they have cloacas. They don't actually have penises. And they will actually pick up that packet of sperm, after which the sperm will be able to enter her body.
Damn.
I see.
So
Interesting.
Yeah, so with the slugs, I think all they're doing right there is it's a pretty good way for them to both guarantee they're able to impregnate each other. Sure, you injected the sperm into their penis, but it might.
Yeah, see, I'm
still
already
migrate
confused
to
with
their
that
body.
statement right there.
Well, because I said that with the slugs I worked on. The slugs I worked on are still within the same clade as those leopard slugs.
Yeah. Explain
And-
clade again. What is clade?
A clade is basically how can I even explain it? See, I don't do a lot of taxonomic stuff, so I personally think there's a ton of issues with it coming out of my undergrad. But basically, a clade is essentially a group of related animals.
Okay.
Now,
So that sounds like every other kind of classification that I know of, like
If
kingdom, phylum,
yeah.
class, order, whatever the fuck.
basically. But if I can make it more informal for the audience, and if I can make it informal to the point where we're not able to strongly say that it it is within a certain genus or species or family, you call it a clade. And I suppose, I'm not quite sure, some taxonomists might be rolling in their graves or screaming at me, hearing me say this, but I would like to say that calling something a species or a genus is just putting it into a clade that is much more organized.
I see. So it's like a clade would be like the broad stroke, and then genus and species would be the more formalized or more specific.
But if you say that the clade starts here, it doesn't mean that the entire kingdom is the clade.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
It's like all tigers are cats, but not all cats are tigers.
Right,
I think
right.
that's the sort of situation. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but I'm
Sure, whatever.
Sounds about right.
At least you qualified it with I could be wrong, so they can't say shit to you now.
I don't do any taxonomy stuff. No phylogenies.
Yeah. So you were saying, though, to me in text also, Jackson, that some of these slugs when they're mating, actually, it's like a battle. So, like, from what I understand it, you're saying, like, okay, for some reason, since they're hermaphroditic, they kind of want to engage in this battle for reproduction because since they both have male and female parts, it's easier to be the male. So they want to inseminate rather than get inseminated.
Yeah, so there's this concept. I guess I want to call it a hypothesis. I don't know if it's at the level of a theory. But basically, that thing you're talking about is called penis fencing, to get that out of the way first and foremost. And
Penis fencing.
Penis fencing. Yes, you can look this up. They have videos of flatworms.
I don't know if I want to type that in Google.
You can look at, you can see sword fighting, dude. To avoid that, sword fighting, maybe not. Penis fencing, I think you might be all right with that.
Okay.
But if you go to YouTube,
Maybe don't go to images.
you can watch flatworms, you can watch slugs, penis fencing. And basically what they do is that they both they meet each other. Because they're both hermaphroditic, they could both inseminate each other. They try to inseminate the other animal without ending up becoming inseminated.
Right, right.
And I think the hypothesis for that comes about from how much energy you're putting into your sperm versus eggs.
Mm-hmm.
You put way less energy into producing sperm than you do eggs.
Right.
With eggs, you put yolk. There's a lot of cytoplasmic and cytoskeletal, those like cellular structures and cellular fluids that are much more inherited from the mother. And the mother inherits the mitochondria, whereas the father does not. And so there are way fewer organelles and much less energy goes into a sperm cell. But ultimately,
So it's kind of like physics. You want to achieve the lowest energy state, essentially.
yes, and so you can still get a complete offspring with a sperm cell, but it requires way less energy to put into it. So you can, in theory, produce far more offspring with sperm just as successfully as if you were donating an egg.
Right.
But the egg requires much more energy. Now,
So then, let me ask you this, though, to interrupt. So why can't the sperm just, like, fucking shoot sperm at each other instead of trying to do this fucking wrapping thing? Because when they're wrapping up, it seems like they're almost, now they're locked in. You know, how are they gonna... It'd be probably better if you can, like, maybe sneak it in there, you know?
yeah, well, it depends. It's really hard to say why that happens. Why don't all the animals just shoot sperm at each other, and why are they all just not hypersonic and dodging the sperm until someone hits like some kind of sperm
Right, some Dragon
dodgeball?
Ball Z slugs.
Yes. Why is it not like that? Why do we have sloths? Why are sloths so slow? What's the point?
Right.
You know, it's because, like I said before, evolution does not necessarily have to make you stronger, faster, more durable, larger, better at anything. It just can occur. And so some of the things that we see might just be artifacts. For example, human beings still have tailbones. We don't use tailbones that much.
Yeah, true.
Some human beings still are born with tails itself. Sometimes things are just artifacts. Genetic drift, migration could lead to evolution that is not exactly adaptive. And so it's very difficult for me to say what happened. You'd have to think about when this actually diverged, when this trait first appeared, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I really don't know. I think that with those slugs, it is a little bit dangerous to do that because I actually was looking some things up, and they would shoot. Some of the slugs would go up and chew off the penis of another slug, and the other slug would fall down, like at the end of that video you saw. And
So they do shoot. They don't shoot the sperm. They shoot the whole dick at them.
they don't shoot it. I say
money shot.
chew. Like they might eat through
chew.
the penis of another slug.
Oh, I
and
got you.
make it fall off, which probably isn't consequential. A lot of these slugs will regenerate it, no issue. But still, it could mean that you have to put a lot more energy into
growing a new penis.
Into growing a new penis.
Where's that gene for us?
Hopefully
man?
bigger, yeah.
It's growing a new penis instead
You just keep biting it off until it's the size you want.
Instead of producing more sperm or eggs, which would be strange because if you just impregnated this slug, you would want it to use as much energy as possible to ensure that your offspring are produced effectively. Or you could say it might not be that energetically costly to generate a penis. Now it just can't impregnate any other slugs nearby while you continue to. It can only serve as a mother for the time being, perhaps.
Okay.
I really don't know. This is sheer speculation.
Yeah.
But when we think about these evolutionary questions, we want to think about how can this individual, or this population rather, make its fitness overall increase? How can it increase the likelihood that its offspring make it to adulthood? If it can't do that, how can it increase the likelihood it has tons of offspring to increase the chances that there is at least a few that make it to adulthood?
Right. I see.
That's the way I think about evolution, and so that's why I'm speculating in this sort of way. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But also to clarify, just for the audience, I know Jackson. You study slugs you studied them in undergraduate, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but it was sea slugs that you studied, and not the leopard slug specifically.
No, I didn't study any terrestrial animals.
Okay, yeah. So you're strictly marine biology for a reason. But you were saying that they do have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that life began in the sea, and there are tons of artifacts within animals that continue living in the sea that are found in animals on land. For example, our throats, just modified gills. That's really all it is.
Okay.
Our larynx and our pharynx, or whichever one, is just a modified gill.
So gills came first.
Gills came first.
Okay.
And then I think
he's like,
gills came first, and then
it.
some animals started developing some lungs, and then some of those animals started developing gills again.
You know what's cool about that? Like, you see, like, what is it called whenever it's an embryo and it goes through the stage? It goes like an embryo
For
goes
human,
through the
or?
stages of development.
Yes.
Do you ever seen that snapshot photo? Maybe we can pull it up, but where it shows from, like, the little tiny embryo, and then it looks like a chick, and it looks like a turtle or something. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a popular image. They put in some textbooks in biology where they show – it's one of the ways that we have more confidence that there was a single origin for all life on Earth, because you get the embryos for tons of amniotes. Like you can get –
have you seen this?
Like birds, lizards, whales, and you put them all at the same stage after fertilization. So the zygote or the embryo might be 2 weeks in, and they all look the same.
Really?
For the most part. There's very few differences between young embryos before their cells really start differentiating and their organ systems start forming.
Oh, wow.
Now,
what's the reasoning behind that?
That we all came from the same single source of life on the planet.
So there's no reason that's saying that that's the only way it can happen or develop. It's just that happened to be the way we developed because the organisms from the very beginning all developed that way.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the argument. And so you start off as a ball. There it is. Yep. You start off as a ball of cells, and then you start differentiating. You don't really tell you can't really tell the difference between these animals that can be very far away from our species, and they really look similar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go
They all start off with the tail, and human beings, we absorb our tails in the womb. But you could clearly see it at certain stages of the embryo.
Right.
It isn't until much later that you could tell, oh, that's a human, or that's a cat, or that's a turtle, or that's a bear, or that's a whale.
Very interesting.
Like even whales, like you still find vestigial limbs in whales. They still have the bones from when they used to have 4 limbs.
Oh, wow.
If you go into an aquarium, usually on the back part of the whales, you can see the bones that are still in their bodies that are from when they lost their legs and recolonized the sea.
Damn.
Wow.
You can look them up.
I got one for y'all that'll twist y'all up.
What's that?
There's speaking of hermaphrodites, There's a village in the Dominican Republic where like little girls grow penises at the age of puberty.
What the fuck?
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I know the Dominican Republic also had a huge issue because they're also having 8-year-old boys with full-ass beards because apparently their water source had tons of steroids and other compounds in them that could accelerate puberty and throw off your hormonal balance.
Wow.
But you got to remember that
I can't
our
imagine what an
penises-
8-year-old with a beard looks like.
our penises basically are just enlarged, modified clitorises.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're inside out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So
It's an innie instead of innie. It's an outie.
exactly. So I mean, our penises are modified clits. So if you literally
That's
have,
feminist propaganda.
I think I heard someone say before that if you got an embryo that
Yeah.
was XY, like male, and you made it so that none of the androgens could be picked up by their cells, and it got no testosterone in the womb, it'll develop as a female even with XY.
Wow.
I heard that
Yeah,
before.
I
Interesting.
think that kind of makes sense, right? Because for you to be a boy, the genetic. What it sounds like to me is that the default is sort of female, and then you inject testosterone to
become
make
male,
to
yeah.
become male,
But females have testosterone as well.
They do, but not at the same level as we do.
and not in the
And
womb.
it's
threshold.
And
In
if
the
you
womb.
do increase it to that level, that's when you start seeing. Excuse me. That's when you start seeing things like with some bodybuilders, where they start having much deeper voices. They start getting much stronger jaws. Body hair grows out of the whack. You know. And
Damn,
I
hormones
think that
are just
with I
They're
think that-
crazy how influential it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think and that's when they do it as adulthood. They're not getting that
Right.
while they're 5 years old.
Right. Well,
And-
don't they treat people who would be transgender from like let's say one gender to the next? Isn't it purely just hormonal treatment to change them over?
They have
I mean, I don't know if-
HRT. They have hormonal replacement therapy.
so they actually are getting rid of the original hormone, and
You
then
can actually prevent hormones from being picked up. You can get an influx of a hormone you don't naturally produce. You can do all that. It's literally called HRT. Now
okay.
the details, it depends on how much is covered, how much you're willing to pay for it, but it changes. And also after a certain age, the effects that it has on your body can kind of diminish. If you get HRT before puberty, I believe that you can look very, very much like someone who's biological for the sex you're trying to change into. Whereas if you were to start at age 32, I think it'd be difficult.
I'd be very sexy. Okay, don't you
I'm pretty
dare.
sure you would definitely do some developing breast tissue.
yeah.
But I don't think it's going to make a lot of your secondary sex characteristics that have already been established
Yeah.
diminish as much because you already developed them. I think HRT can literally stop you from developing those.
Yeah.
Now, with women, too, I mean, with biological women, XX chromosome, I think only one X chromosome is active at a time as well. I know that a lot of times a single X chromosome could dominate a lot of what's happening in the body for the child. And I know that there's some weird histone stuff where one of the chromosomes can get wrapped up and not used until it gets methylated for some reason. But basically, I think that with males, if I were to purely speculate based off that information, I would think that for males, because we have X and Y, both are active, versus with a lot of females where only one X chromosome is active, therefore hiding a lot of the negative sex link traits. If you knock down that Y chromosome, you probably could just straight up develop as a female. I think all the machinery is there.
So you can have one X chromosome.
I think that I don't know I don't know how this is because we haven't tested it on humans
Okay.
because of ethics stuff, but I
that
would really be
bullshit
curious
ethical
to
shit.
see. I'd be really curious to see. And my hunch and my gut feeling is that if you were to get a zygote or an embryo as soon as it was developed and you were able to prevent it from accepting the majority of androgens that help you develop into a male child.
So you're saying no developmental hormone shit? No, you just cut it off.
I don't say completely, but if you knocked out a lot of them,
Okay.
or if you're able to put an influx of, say, estrogen and was it progesterone? That's the pregnancy one.
Yeah.
Into the zygote embryo, I'm pretty sure you can end up with an individual. I'm not. Like this is pure speculation.
Right.
I don't really know because I'm not an embryologist.
This would be like genetic engineering, right?
Yeah, but I think that with what I know, if you got someone who had XY chromosomes and made sure that Y chromosome was never active, you could still probably end up with a functioning female.
Interesting. So you're claiming that you believe, from what you know scientifically, that it might be possible to manufacture or force genetically a person to be born as a woman, as a female every time.
Yeah, and so the thing is, I think to get a male it might be more difficult. But to get a female, I think that's like easy because that's almost a baseline. Like I said, our penises are like a clitoris is not a small penis. A penis is a large clitoris.
Yeah.
Slow down.
And this is based off of like undergrad cell biology and Bio 100C animal biology, and so that's what I would think. I'd be curious, but America probably would never let it happen. If not most countries, but definitely not America.
But couldn't they do those tests on some other species, like a rat or something?
I think they have done it before. Like I think they've cured nearly every sort of cancer in mice and rats before. In
Rats
flies, essentially, they can clone flies through breeding, not even trying to do some sort of weird clone technology. It's literally just through breeding design, they're able to clone flies because they know so much about Drosophila.
Wow.
They should stop. Have you been outside? There's so many flies.
Well, we're talking about like fruit flies.
Yeah, no more cloning flies.
Fruit flies are good. You know, fruit flies. If any of the fruit flies that you use in the lab get outside, they'll probably die very quickly. And all they do is eat fungus. So they actually don't eat your fruit; they eat the fungus that grows on the fruit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Good to know.
That's
that on my feet. Man.
That's why rotting fruit attracts fruit flies more than fresh fruit does.
Okay.
If I remember this correctly.
Okay.
But essentially, they have the entire genome figured out and everything. And we have tons of stuff we can do with humans too, because obviously, to us, human beings are the most interesting animal on the planet. But ethics gets in our way of a lot of stuff.
So, well, I thought it was interesting because, like, when I read that, I was like, wow, like, we forget because I think a lot of we see of what we see in our interaction day to day is like kind of like this binary, right? Of like, you know, XX and XY kind of thing. And then like there are instances where, you know, you get hermaphroditism in like humans.
Yes.
And that's out of the ordinary, but it's a mutation nonetheless that's like, you know, I think it's the perspective of like diversifying, like, and on an evolutionary sense, diversifying your portfolio of sexes makes more sense than just having, like, for instance, like humans, like the majority I think are heterosexual because, well, fitness, right? I think is higher. Wouldn't it be like if one sex picks? I could be wrong. But one sex.
We're just saying, like, if species had like homosexuality and heterosexuality.
Well,
in
our
their portfolio
species does.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm saying it makes sense to diversify your portfolio evolutionarily. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so then, but you're talking about like what the attraction would be. So like heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual.
Because for me, it makes more sense to be hermaphroditic as a species. Like if I wanted to,
you have more. You have more opportunity to mate.
Yeah, I can mate with myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know
right. Yeah. But then I actually asked Jackson about that with the slugs. Yeah. But my hunch was that maybe there is some kind of, if you're mating with yourself, that means that you are keeping that genetic line very undiversified. Because you know the whole like benefit of sexual reproduction, I believe, was the fact that you can have so much genetic variation, and you can have all these mutations where it actually made it so that you can evolve in a better and quicker way.
Yeah. So there are benefits to both mating systems, to have hermaphroditic individuals and to have individuals that have discrete sexes amongst them. Now, with what Terence is referring to, is actually a term called selfing. Plants do this, animals do this, and selfing is basically when you use your own gametes to make a new individual. And it's different from cloning because it's not making a new body. There's actually recombination. The there's alleles getting switched around and all that
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Right.
So it's not just like you clone yourself when you do that. There's much more variation amongst selfed offspring than cloned offspring.
Right.
Okay, it's
and
like you
clone
have-
would be an asexual.
Clone is asexual.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
Selfing
okay.
is still sexual, but with yourself.
I see.
Okay, so it's like you have a deck of cards and you just play pickup, by
Yeah.
yourself.
And so if
And every now and then you lose a card or something.
yeah, and if sex from a scientific term is used as the mixing of sperm and eggs,
Yeah.
then asexual reproduction is without sex, and thus cloning yourself is not technically sex.
Right.
Whereas selfing is. And both the animals that I've worked on can self. I worked on sea urchins as well in between these two animals, and I think the sea urchins can probably self as well. But selfing in the animals I worked on, they don't do it very often. They do it when they're desperate.
Yeah.
I've seen the slugs turn in their penis on themselves before, but that's only when there's no other slugs around.
Now, why is
Same.
that? Why does it have to be a desert?
And then I've also seen it where I've also forced it. So I guess in a way I play God. So I get the
Shit,
sperm and
love it.
eggs of a bunch of volunteer animals that I dissect against their will, and I mix them together, and I can get offspring. Now, what I used to do is I used to mate the individuals themselves. I'd have this factorial design where each individual served as a mother and as a father. So I would get 3 individuals. Individual 1 would mate with
Menage a trois, dude.
yeah, so I'd get the sperm from individual 1, the eggs from individual 2, and individual 3, and mix them together. But I also get the sperm and eggs from individual 1 and mix those together as well. What I found, and this is purely observational, I actually have no data on this, but I'm telling you, if I was actually to collect actual data on this, the results would easily be significant. I find way less hatching success. I find way less settlement success in the offspring because they swim around as larvae and try to settle. And I also find that the shapes of their bodies are incredibly different. They have shorter heads and different shaped axes for all these different parts of their body
Wait,
versus outcrossed individuals.
Why is that? Sorry.
I think because they have tons of deleterious alleles that get stacked up. So you have if you're heterozygous for
A little bit dumbed down. Jackson.
sorry.
deleting. You said deleting alleles. Are you deleting?
So deleterious, as in like it hurts you,
Yeah.
not beneficial. Deleterious. So remember a few podcasts ago, I brought up the term allele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what allele was?
It
An
was
allele-
the what?
Go for it.
Okay.
No, dude, I know. I kind of know what this is.
Yeah. So I remember you brought up the example of the Punnett chart.
the Punnett square.
Yeah, the Punnett square.
But the easiest way to describe an allele is a different form of a gene, or it's a variant of a gene. Mm-hmm. So there might be a gene that could have, let's theoretical, say there's a gene that affects hair color, and you only have 2 different potential hair colors.
Okay.
You have black and white. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have certain alleles, you might end up with black. If you have certain alleles, you might end up with white. That's how it is, even
Okay.
though they control the same thing. That's the easiest way I can describe it.
Okay. I see.
Now, with that, you have this thing called heterozygosity, where you can have alleles that are different for the same gene within the same individual. So, say you had your black and white hair color, right? And we were to say B is black and W is white.
Okay.
If you have BB for the hair color, you're going to have black hair.
Sure.
If you have WW, you have white hair.
Yeah.
But if it turns out that one of them is more dominant than the other for whatever molecular reasons, you could have BW and still end up with one being expressed. Say if B was dominant to W, if you had a heterozygous BW
Right.
sort of genotype, which is the gene type that's in you, you would end up with black hair.
Right.
So if you were to be heterozygous and you mated with another heterozygous individual, there's a chance that W and W could end up together and it could be expressed.
Right.
Now, if you are mating with yourself, you probably have tons of alleles that would hurt you within your body that simply aren't being expressed thanks to the dominance of another healthier allele.
Oh, I gotcha.
Now, because you're mixing it together, say if we're just doing a 2x2 sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
It makes it much more likely that your offspring are going to have those deleterious alleles stack up on each other.
So it's something to avoid. And the animals know this.
Yes. And, I mean, I don't say they know this.
Well,
as much
instinctively
as that's how it
somehow
worked
they
out.
do.
Not even instinctively. A lot of animals don't even have brains. My animals don't have brains. It's just how it works out. Like this, like if you think about a lot of animals, you can think about it like molecular sort of things, like just the path of least resistance to producing the most.
Yeah, but the path of least resistance would be mating with yourself. I don't see why it would even be beneficial to try to seek out a mate then.
Well, then if the path of least resistance depends on the goal that you're trying to get to. So if you're just trying to mate, sure, mating with yourself might be the easiest thing to do. I mean, for me, I think it'd be kind of hard, but I think
why?
But with a lot of animals, it would not exactly produce what they really are trying to do.
Yeah, but
like
what drives them to do that? Because let's see if we're thinking about the slug again, right?
Yes.
The slug is hermaphroditic. They got all the tools. And let's say the slug is like, fuck seeking a mate. Like, it's so much easier to just mate with yourself. Why would you even go out of your way to do that?
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to get away from is anthropomorphizing the animals. I don't want to make it seem as though they're actively thinking about this sort of stuff.
Sure, but even they're not actively thinking. That's why I said instinctively. So there's something driving them to want to mate.
If we use that, instinctively, there's something that does not make you want to mate with yourself in a lot of species as much as others. And so but if we're going to use it in that way, yes, that makes sense. And so when you think about the goal of animals, the goal of life, the only thing I can really make an argument for that would be in any way related to a purpose of life or purpose of evolution, of adaptive evolution rather, is to ensure that you pass on your genes successfully.
Right.
Now, if you mate with yourself, that might not be the best way because your offspring could be so filled up with these deleterious alleles that it's better off to take your chances finding another mate.
Right.
And we see that because there's so many animals that do that. It's probably a very strong selective pressure to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious of what actually drives them to do that, though, because it's like, we don't want to anthropomorphize or anything, but there's got to be some kind of internal driver, some like hard coding of their programming where it causes them to want to seek out a mate rather than just mating with themselves.
Well, I think it's like with bacteria. We want to get as simple as possible. Bacteria respond to stimuli. Bacteria don't think. They don't have brains.
Yeah.
They don't even have true organs. But they will respond to stimuli, and that's due to chemical reactions. Most of the stuff, if you go deep enough, boils down to chemical reactions.
So just some chemical is making it so that they want to seek out a mate.
Well, it's kind of like this. I could sit here and logically say, I don't want to fall in love because that makes things complicated. There's no point if I'm trying to reproduce as much as possible. But if I go meet someone and I find myself attracted to them, regardless, and oftentimes it's against my will, I didn't make a choice to do it.
Yeah.
Oxytocin?
Yeah.
Whatever the happy molecule is, it's still going to be released when I come into physical contact with them. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
Like mothers and fathers, when they see their offspring, more so with mothers, they actually get hormones and chemicals released that makes them feel good.
Right.
Even if they actively think, why should I put this much effort into one child when I should be trying to focus on having a new one so I can continue my legacy? I don't want to say that you're actively thinking about it. I don't really know what to tell you as a driver.
Not actively. I'm just saying. I think I'm in agreement with you. I just am curious of what actually instinct means and like how they would even know to do it.
Well, I mean, a lot of animals have brains, but plants do this too, and plants don't have brains.
Yeah.
Plants will communicate with each other. If certain plants start getting eaten by certain insects, they will release compounds into the air where other plants can pick it up, and they will actually start a defense response knowing that another tree nearby has got a predator on it.
Right. What's the defense response for a plant?
The defense response. So some plants have these hairs that are really
Prickly or something?
are really prickly. Some
Okay.
some tons of plants have chemical defenses that make
Yeah.
you itch. Some plants literally will curl up so you can't bite it as much.
Right.
We can think about very simple things like cacti. Cacti, their leaves are modified into spines. Those.
Yeah, I think I actually did a Twitter post on one of those plants that moves. Mimosa pudica. You've heard of that one?
Mimosa. Yeah,
It's like shy plant.
yeah, I've heard about it.
Okay, yeah. It
And
curls when you touch it.
I think that's due to pretty much hydraulics. I think it's mainly.
Well,
driven
they
by
said when I looked up the mechanism behind it, it said it works very similarly to the nervous system, like the neurons. So neurons, when they get some stimulus, they get some electrical signal down the axons.
That's how they communicate.
Yeah.
And so those electrical signals are essentially just changes in the ion concentration across cells, and it goes really quickly. That essentially is where the electrical current comes from, because all the ions and electrons go one place and not another.
Right.
And I don't see why
Path of
plants.
least resistance once again.
And I think that plants will do that. But what plants don't do is that plants don't have muscles.
Right.
Plants don't have brains.
Right.
And so this is solely due to chemical reactions that just kind of happen. It's just that evolution favored that sort of response, whether or not you got to think about how I can maximize my efficiency.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, though, how
Well-
those two systems use the same, they have the same structure to them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, I don't know, I feel like you're kind of maybe in this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I battled with this thought for a long time in like my undergrad years of some biology. I was like, how do mutations occur? Like, because you're saying it's instinctive. There's some instinctive notion of like something changing. So how do they know when to switch from like reproducing with the opposite sex as opposed to like going hermaphroditic, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of that, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, dude, it's like it's a response from the environment. It's like a stress response from the environment. Like it may happen that they sort of switch, but some of them may die, obviously, because they don't have, they might not be innately inclined to switch. But there may be one off slug that, can just turn hermaphroditic, save the species, and then wait another day, live another day to
Right.
do it again.
Now, I was thinking it was, sorry to interrupt real quick, but I was thinking maybe in my mind, my picture was that maybe the slug, like, let's just imagine like how we feel about sex.
Yeah.
Like you want to go and get it.
Yeah.
And that's like the primary. But then let's say if there's like some competing thing, like let's say maybe a better example would be like foods. So like you want that chocolate cake all day,
Yeah.
that chocolate cake's fucking looking good as shit.
Yeah.
But then you got the vegetables on the side. You don't want the vegetables because you got the chocolate cake in front of you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the chocolate cake and all you got is vegetables, then you switch to the vegetables.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that maybe the slug's mating is like the chocolate cake, and that's what the instinctive driver pulls them towards. And then if they can't get that chocolate cake, then they just go to the vegetables and they're like, okay, it's still food. I can still survive.
I think that it's important. There's something important I'd like to say. If we had all this stuff figured out, we wouldn't have evolutionary biologists.
Sure.
We are still working on this. You
Yeah,
can find several people within the departments of ecology and evolution everywhere who are working on mating systems, trying to elucidate this
So
information.
we're on the leading edge then, basically, right now.
Yeah.
I don't know
Us.
about that. I don't know. But I mean, like one of the grad students who came in 2 years after I did, she's working on mating systems in flies. She's looking at fly sperm for the flies that they already have the entire genome figured out for. And that's still something that they would work on because it's still very informative. In fact, with those flies, their sperm is longer than their actual body. If you look at a fruit fly sperm cell is longer than the actual body of the fly itself.
It's just real curled up.
Yeah, but if you stretch out the tail, it's like, 2 times as long
Oh, wow.
as
Interesting.
the actual fly itself. But you don't see, like, fly jizz on the floor
Right.
with a sperm still swimming
That's
around.
got to be some brutal intercourse, though, from the female fly.
I think it's curled up. I think it's very curled up. I don't understand why they have such a long tail when it's so big already that
Right.
it can't swim around inside the
Right.
female.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of interesting things out there, and like I said, if we already had the answers to everything, we would not have biology.
Sure.
You know, it's almost like going back. That's like, I think the only field I could think about where they said, yeah, we got everything figured out, might have been physics before quantum physics became a real thing.
Well,
And
I actually want to clear that up, because if you're trying to reference that Lord Kelvin quote where he says everything that has been discovered or everything to be discovered has already been discovered or something. Okay.
No.
Well, there's this famous Lord Kelvin
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
that people like to say where he says that everything that has been or that will be discovered has been discovered or something.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, I can't
dramatically.
remember, and I think most people would, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, that's a misattributed quote. I don't think Lord Kelvin actually said that. For some reason, I don't know why he got ascribed to that quote, but he didn't say it. I'm pretty sure.
But basically, what I'm saying is that we don't, like I said, we don't have all the answers yet. Some people have really strong hypotheses that eventually will develop into theories about it. But it's very difficult because within biology, it's hard to say that there's a law when there's always going to be an exception. And
But you can always just say that there's the law and then there's the exception to the law.
well, then the law, it's more like a theory then. So with the law means that it's always going to happen within this.
Okay, you're using the very scientific
The very
definition.
scientific version of a law.
Okay.
So because there's
Honestly, I don't even know what they are.
so that's why, I mean, that's why
distinctions.
honestly, the closest thing I would argue the closest thing to a law we have in biology
Darwin.
is that evolution is a thing. Evolution's a thing. Is it always adaptive? No, we know that's not true. Does it
Yeah.
always occur in the ways we think it will? Not
No.
necessarily. Does all life and stuff within biology required to have a cell? That's not even a law. We have viruses. Viruses
Yeah.
and prions are organic compounds that a lot of people would consider to be life, but do not even have cells in them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that
But-
real quick. What the fuck is with prions? I've read some shit
Prions
where
are
if you
bad.
get them, if you eat prions, then they will fuck your shit up in a very bad way.
Prion, if
Yeah.
I recall correctly, is a rogue piece of DNA and protein that has been popularized by mad cow disease.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. And the reason why they have mad cow disease is because it literally goes and consumes your brain. And if you contract mad cow disease, the prognosis is essentially guaranteed.
You're dead.
When you get mad cow disease, as far as I can tell, it has a 100% kill rate.
Damn.
So
They don't eat beef.
and it's
Sucks
very
for you guys.
and it's very difficult to fight
I mostly
against
eat
it
chicken, so.
because it's even smaller than viruses, if I recall correctly. And in order to target the DNA strand, unless you can specifically target exactly that strand of DNA, the sort of things you use would probably target the DNA in your cells as well. Similar to
So you cannot target it because it's so similar to the DNA that you have.
I don't know if you can't target it, but pretty much 100% kill rate tells me
No.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you'll literally get holes in your brain and stuff.
Damn.
And I also know that that's one of the reasons why getting protozoa that infect you, like amoebas stuff, or other animal-like single-cellular organisms, is very difficult. Eukaryotes is very difficult to fight against because it's not like you take an antibiotic and it dies, because you have eukaryotic cells within you. So if you use something to target those amoeba that are eukaryotes, it can target your cells as well. So it's a lot more dangerous than getting a bacterial infection when you have something that can go inside your cells or it's very similar to you, because you just can't
Right.
sweep it and kill everything inside of you that's not you,
Interesting. I see.
because it is you.
Right. It's kind of like the problem with cancer. When you
Yes.
try to get chemotherapy, you're killing off your own cells.
Yes. You kill off a lot
I
of
see.
your cells at the
That's
same
when all
time.
the shit is really hard. When the disease or whatever the infiltrating body is too similar.
The pathogen, we'd like to say.
Okay,
The
thank you.
pathogen, the agent of illness or disease.
I see. Okay.
Damn, can you imagine just dying in 2019 from mad cow disease?
Yeah, that kind of suck.
I don't wanna
They're
think
like,
about it.
That's a throwback.
Damn.
But I think the majority of the deaths happen, I want to say in the UK. I think they have a sheep version of that as well.
Wow.
Oh shit.
But yeah. Also, I'm really afraid in America whenever it happens, because In America, I don't think you can freeze those things to death. You can freeze samples for DNA and use it later within reason. But because these things are DNA, I'm afraid that if I go to McDonald's or something, I don't eat there. But if I did go there, and I was like, I just want to get a McDouble, that patty could have been frozen for like 8 months. And most of the patties in those burgers are the amalgamations of several different cows, too. Right. And I know that in America and other places where they're all about the profit, they're not gonna look at a cow that's sick or diseased and say, yeah, I'm not putting that in there. They've literally found cancers from chickens and stuff inside some of the meat that we eat in America.
Does that hurt us?
I've seen some suggestion that eating cancer cells could increase the likelihood of cancer within you, but I have my doubts because I don't really know how the mechanism will work properly, knowing how cancer proliferates in their body. Right. I also have cast my doubts because I think there could be something else going on instead. If you find that most of this is due to the fact that people who eat the most cancer-filled meats probably live very unhealthy lives, smoking, eating McDonald's every day,
right,
that might cause it more than the actual cancers themselves. It just happens that they consume a lot of it, and so it's positively correlated, but not a causation of that.
Right. Yeah. The old classic correlation does not imply causation.
Exactly. It's like I remember I was worried about HPV a while back.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. But basically, they did these studies on HPV, how HPV is super common and all this stuff, yada yada yada. But if you actually read the papers, the majority of instances where people get HPV are from people who also smoke a lot, who also have very unhealthy habits, and it's pretty much saying that HPV only really does some certain diseases only really do things to you if you already have compromised yourself through other ways.
Right.
So,
because like your immune system will be down.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier for the pathogen, I guess. Right.
Yeah, and it's scary because with HPV is that it's been positively correlated with ovarian cancer in women, but it essentially has very few, if any, effects in males. It wasn't until a few years ago they actually found polyps inside the rectum of some males who actually had HPV. But they said that in the paper that I read, at least, that came out in 2014, which is actually kind of young for medical stuff.
You really did the research, man. Reading papers.
Yeah, basically, HPV could lead to lesions on the cervix of a woman, and the constant lesion, the constant repair of that could actually promote cervical cancer if the paper I read is understood properly.
Well, also that reminds me of, do you remember the tree man?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tree man, apparently his tree growths, he literally looks like he's turning into a tree ant from the Lord of the Rings. Oh, is he really now?
He's been dead for years.
Oh, wow. Well, apparently his thing was caused by HPV. What? He said he got scratched or something. Yeah, he got scratched in the woods, and apparently he started turning into a tree. And they tested his shit, and they said it was human papillomavirus.
Yep.
That's how legends start.
Yeah, man. So he literally was growing fucking tree stumps out of his hands.
So it was this like really warty thing where he had these warts on his face, he had it on his feet, his hands, legs, and he still had a wife and everything too, I think.
Right.
Damn. Which really tells you how well you're doing.
She's like, the hands aren't the only trees.
But I mean, but for listeners, that's not the goal of what we're doing. We're not trying. Your value is not linked to whether you're able to acquire a lifelong mate or not. But
thank you for the disclaimer, Jackson.
I'm just saying that the standards over there were a little questionable.
What was he in the Philippines or something?
It was some island out there, but basically he was actually like a villager. But I remember they actually did bring him in. They actually did like physically perform surgery on him to remove the majority of the warts. Yeah, to where he could actually bend his fingers again. Because after a few years, he couldn't even bend his fingers.
But the thing was, it grew back.
They grew back very quickly because they didn't get rid of
the HPV
itself.
I didn't know HPV did that. I thought it was like.
I think it was a combination with he's this rare, extremely crazy genetic. Do you remember the story, Jackson? He had some fucked up genetic thing where it manifested this way because of his rare genetic condition.
Yeah, I think he was that's not normal. No, they have. I think they said HPV is probably, besides that herpes virus that everyone has that doesn't really affect them, that they said that's probably the most widely spread human STD in America, at least.
Probably because we didn't even really know about it, because it doesn't affect men like that.
It doesn't
usually.
affect men, and men are like, oh, men don't get checked out until it starts burning when they go to use a bathroom. And a lot of the times with HPV is that HPV has very few
symptoms or signs.
It's very rare that you find symptoms in males. In addition to that, there aren't really good ways for determining if males have HPV. Urine tests don't yield it. Blood tests have proven to be unreliable. It's very difficult to tell if males in general have HPV within them.
Damn, that's a really shitty one.
So that's why it's even bad, because if you go and get screened for STDs, as of right now, you can't even tell if you have HPV.
Right. Damn.
Damn.
So they're working on. I assume they're working on some kind of test.
Yeah, because if you were, when I entered college in 2011, they didn't even have anything for that. They had the meningitis, they had all these other things, but they didn't do the HPV. My sister had to get an HPV vaccine, but they didn't open up men to have HPV vaccines until very recently, because they actually found out that it is in men a lot, and it does manifest, and that's how most of it is spread. In addition to that, there are men who actually do start forming warts and lesions thanks to HPV, usually inside the anal cavity, in the rectum. So
Now, is that an unusual thing?
I think it's rare. It seems like it's rare because the majority of the time women get HPV in America. Most heterosexual women usually get it from their partner, who got it from somebody else but couldn't tell. And so that's what makes it scary. They didn't even have a vaccine. Now they have a vaccine that you can get every year, I think from ages 18 to 26.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it is I think it's a very recent thing that actually happened.
Okay.
Are progressing towards males actually having HPV within like 2013 or something.
Wow. Okay. I think I heard about it like around 2008, 2009.
Well, you hear about it. I've heard about HPV for years. It's just that in males, though.
Yeah, but I remember girls being really freaked out about it though in around 2008 and 2009.
Yeah, I remember my mom being like, "Yeah, your sister's gonna get a vaccine or something." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
Like,
and they didn't have
16 or something.
Yeah.
They didn't open up the vaccine to males, and I think it's still optional. I think it's mandatory. They opened up the vaccine to males for very recently, it had to be after 2010. I remember that for sure.
Damn.
And
Interesting.
And you do it, and you basically get the vaccine until you're 26. I don't know why they stop it at that age, but I mean, shoot, when I went in, I got it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I even got it.
I don't
You
know.
probably didn't.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably didn't because they didn't put emphasis on it.
Yeah.
But how do these women get in the first place?
Males, sex. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
I wanted to ask because, like, I'm like, speaking of like vaccines and shit.
Yeah.
Do you think? I've been thinking a lot about this, but I'm like, have you heard any case of somebody? So, for instance, for me, I'm allergic to, say, deathly allergic to some kind of species of insect. If I were to inject their poison in me routinely, would I acclimate to be
Inconceivable.
I think, man. Yeah, I don't know because you're allergic. But I do know that that the human body, like most mammal bodies, is very adaptable. Now, for you, because you might die the first time you have it, I'm not quite sure.
No. I won't die from one thing. But
Dude, you freaked me out that one time.
Yeah.
Can I tell the story a little bit briefly?
Yeah, sure.
So when Juan and me first came down here for school, he was going with a friend of ours to go look at houses, and he just calls me up and he's like, "Hey, can you pick me up? Can I say what the animal is? So I know you're trying to you don't want to put your kryptonite on blast.
I know.
Okay. So
let's just
say some
a common insect.
Yeah, it's a common insect. I think we already know the answer.
Yeah. Well.
Oh my God! Does it have two wings? Is it yellow? Is there black stripes on it?
One of those. We'll say one of those.
He said I got bit by some common insect, and I was like, okay. And he's like, I think I need to go to the hospital. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do about this? And I was actually annoyed. I was a little bit annoyed. And then he's like, I need you to come get me. Because I was the one who had the car this time.
This dude's the anaphylaxis.
And I was like,
I was
fine,
like,
fine. I'll come get you. And I pick him up. And he seems fine to me. I'm like, okay, this guy, I don't know what he's doing. This is before I knew Juan at all really well, too. So I was like, what is this guy doing, man? I was like, fine, come on in. And then he's like, he's all hot and shit. He's all red. He's like, I think you have breathing troubles, too.
Yeah. My throat was closing up.
And I was like, oh, fuck, this dude really is fucking fucked up from this shit. And I was like, oh, my God, if I wasn't here, what would have happened? So
I would have had to call an ambulance, pay $700 for him.
like he was literally like red. He was like having trouble breathing.
Yeah.
You don't have an
Like, what
EpiPen?
the fuck?
I didn't have health insurance yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. These were tough times, man.
Yeah.
This was the transition literally to school.
Yeah.
And I took him to the hospital, and we're just waiting in the thing, and all these other people got like these conditions going on, and I'm just like, damn, I'm trying to keep my eye on Juan, make sure he's not going to just fucking pass out. Yeah. But thankful, I think they got you the EpiPen, right?
Yeah, they got me a steroid shot.
Yeah.
Send me out. But yeah, man, I'm wondering because it's like how it's so funny that one little poison can just like the prions can almost just destroy a whole organism, which is crazy.
That's more of an autoimmune response to the allergies.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I think histamine is like, oh hey, I was like, I thought that was your hand. I was like, how'd you do that? But,
Magic.
But basically, histamines are one of the substances that are released during allergic response. So that's why a lot of times when you get people who have pollen allergies, they use antihistamines to prevent that. I think to stop the inflammation and stuff. Now, usually the response would be that the compound's in there, it hurts, and your cells come and they dissolve and denature the compound in some way or another. Now, with you, it's because your body goes into shock, which is your body reacting improperly to that. That's usually what allergies are. It's an autoimmune sort of issue. So
you can't fix if it's that. Typically, you don't think like that can be fixed.
I personally don't know.
Here's the thing. I also have allergies, though. And I used to get allergy shots every Friday for 7 years straight when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they would actually up my dosage literally every time I got ready to up it. And they thought I could up it. Like, I got to such a high level of upping it. Like,
You couldn't go any further?
no, eventually I did. But eventually I got to the point where I was immune to, like, everything. I used to be allergic to like grass, pollen, mold, cats, dogs, horsehair, dander, dust mites, all this shit, man. I couldn't even go outside without getting an allergic reaction.
That's a different level.
And I went 7 years though with all these allergy shots. Now I don't have any problems with it. So
Man.
I think I don't know if it's the same with like an insect or anything, but it definitely worked for me with a bunch of plant stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to remember that you actually have freedom to do that. If you have a terrible case of your allergies where it's just going nuts, you might not be able to see a little bit because your eyes are running. You might be sneezing.
Yeah.
He's going to die. So he can't build a resistance.
But dude, I was actually pretty bad with it because what happened was maybe my allergies wouldn't kill me, but the thing was when I had my allergies, it would close my throat because I had asthma. So it would actually trigger my asthma, and then that was like it was like a snowball effect.
I see.
Damn.
Yeah.
Some of us were just destined to die.
But the thing is,
I think I would have been dead.
when you got those
for
shots,
sure,
shots though, those shots were to probably knock down your response more than what he's talking about when it comes to acclimating to a higher level dosage.
Yeah.
You're getting shots to inhibit your response.
Oh, okay, maybe so.
You probably get like antihistamine or the hydrogen chloride or whatever it is.
I don't know. I was too young.
Yeah, they
But-
give you some steroid or something.
But
I don't think I got steroid.
Well, I mean,
For yours.
No, I mean, like in general, I think they give you steroids to boost your immune system temporarily.
No, they never gave me steroids because my mom specifically didn't want steroids. I think because she said
but
it would inhibit
he
your
would
growth. or
need
something.
those in order to live.
Yeah.
Because he
okay.
would die. I think it's a different mechanism.
Okay,
Even
maybe
though you're
so.
saying like, oh, I have like pollen allergies, but he gets bit by an insect.
And keep
Bada
that
bing, bada boom.
mic close to your mouth.
Sorry, bada
Yeah.
bing, bada boom. He's starting to perish.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
not good.
difficult. I do know there are some weirdos out there who would become acclimated. There are some people in biology who study stinging, biting insects. They eventually become acclimated because they work in the field so much.
Yeah.
I got stung by a jellyfish, and each time after, it didn't hurt nearly as badly or as long because they probably got used to the proteins injected in me, and my immune system was prepared to deal with those.
Okay.
You think that's good for the immune system?
What?
Like introducing it to new, varied kind of sort of stimuli, so to
Yeah.
say.
Is it? Well, yeah, that's like a moral question. Is it good or bad, or is it like
like functionally for the immune system, like to keep it on its toes, or is this just like good to just kind of?
I have no clue whether the immune system becomes better at responding to new things if you keep hitting it with new things.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I saw a Kurzgesagt video. You know that
Yes,
channel?
Kurzgesagt, yeah.
Yeah. So it means in a nutshell in German for people. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I mean, it's a
I
huge.
love Kurzgesagt.
Yeah, it's a huge YouTube
I
channel.
just
with-
watched your deep sea thing the other day.
Oh, I didn't get to see it yet.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about it. But yeah, so they actually had a video on the cells getting attacked and the autoimmune response.
Oh, okay.
And they say that there are cells that actually remember when they get attacked. So those cells store that information when it gets attacked, and it allows it so that it's way harder for the same kind of thing to attack you, because those cells that remember reactivate everything way faster and kill those things off before they can do any real damage.
That's the basis of the immune system. That's why you've heard before that you probably don't get the same type of cold twice, right?
Right.
I mean, that's literally how vaccines work. The vaccines go into your body. It's a cell that still has or a cell or virus that still has all the stuff that lets their body know it's a virus or a cell, but it literally cannot do as much damage to you because it's already dead. And so your body has already prepared those cells you're talking about. I can't come up with what they're called now. I forgot it's B, killer T, whatever. I don't think it's killer T. But basically your body is already used to that. And so when you actually do encounter it, your body responds in such a fast manner that the pathogen essentially does not affect you and gets destroyed as soon as it enters your body. Now, what you're saying is that if you saw something new each time, that's different than if you saw something that you've encountered several times over and over.
I'm
and
saying
over again.
something that you've encountered. Yeah.
So if I were to go get insect venom, and I were to go get stung by a jellyfish, and I was go get bit by a shrew, and
All in
different
one
types of things, I don't know if
bad
my
week,
immune
man.
system would have respond very quickly each time. Like if I got bit by tons of different snakes, and all these snakes use a similar type of toxin, that's understandable. But if I get, acid in me by something, if I get stung by a bee, then stung by a jellyfish, I'm not quite sure. I really don't know.
Because you
If
think
your
they
body
might have
starts-
enough variability in their stings.
But
that-
but they have to be able to respond to what's there. If their immune system doesn't know that something's new inside
Right.
you, has prepared those cells to deal with it.
Right. I see.
There might be some overlap because the venom between a rattlesnake and a water moccasin might be
Right.
similar because they're both snakes, maybe.
I see.
But
It just needs to know what the information is that is the same.
yes.
Okay.
So I don't know if your immune system will be better because you got bit by a bunch of snakes and bees as soon as
Right.
you encounter the flu for the first time. If the flu will be destroyed as quickly as if you weren't.
Yeah, I wonder because it's like, because it'd be cool if you could be super immune, or we can make babies that are super immune.
Right.
Like
We
how
probably
Terrence is
we
saying.
could probably do some crazy stuff where the immune system is already prepared, but that's like an ethics thing that probably holds people back.
'Cause
Also,
we kind of do that with babies, though. Like we make them super immune to common viruses, right?
Right. Like with just vaccines. You mean.
Yeah.
with vaccines, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But to say we put in every vaccine for everything, I don't know if you can vaccinate somebody against venom, right? Because venom is a lot of times venom is like proteins.
But you know what you could do
So
maybe with CRISPR? Maybe there's something where you get a venom resistance if you fuck around with someone's DNA.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could do something like that. But like I said, it's an ethics and moral thing
Right.
that people probably are too scared to even ask for money for. Now, yeah, I think it really depends on what it is. So I got the flu virus for the first time in my entire life when I was out here. It was New Year's
Oh,
2018.
it's like the worst time.
Was it 2018? I think it was 2018.
Yeah.
I got real sick. And I was like, dude, I have like the cold, but I'm sweating and everything's cold, dude. Like I've had a cold before, tons of times.
Yeah.
But I got
Shit's next level.
Yeah, and everyone who I went out with at that same place had the flu. They said, "Oh yeah, hey Jackson, did you get the flu?" Man, I was so sick right after we came back from that New Year's thing, and I and I was like, "That was the flu. That's crazy. I've never had the flu before. I thought I was dying." And I was 24, about to turn 25. 24 years of never encountering the flu. And it hit me hard. But I've had colds several times. I grew up with dogs, and people say that, you go and play up outside, your immune system is really strong because you've been exposed to tons of things while you're young.
Yeah.
I already had the chicken pox, all that stuff. That's after I got stung by a jellyfish and a wasp for the first time.
Right.
And the flu still hit me as hard as anybody else who's had it before for those other guys.
Yeah.
My gut feeling is to say no.
Nah. Shit.
I see.
Damn, GG.
But that's like personal anecdote. I don't know if there's
how long has it been since you've been sick, Juan?
Like on his level, on what Jackson's saying, like the flu.
Well, just any like. Yeah, I guess any kind of sickness.
Yeah, the last time I remember, I was probably 20.
Okay.
I was probably 20 years old.
Like a big ass one like
well,
that.
I was worried because the bird flu was like huge at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm gonna die,
okay.
man. This is gonna be it.
This is it.
This is it right here, the fucking bird flu.
I remember when swine flu was out. Like I could not give less of a fuck. I was like,
you weren't sick then. That's why.
Yeah.
If you got sick, you would have been like, here it comes.
When I was in California,
That's
people like, oh my god, in Mexico, this happened. I'm like, a pig farm in rural central Mexico.
Not gonna affect me.
Yeah, I remember that happened. But
That's true.
It's like when people talk about SARS out in Asia too. People talk about SARS a lot. Remember that?
Yeah.
Nah, fuck that Ebola.
Yeah.
But
well, that
Ebola,
had a recent resurgence.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Ebola,
Recent, quote unquote.
But Ebola already has a vaccine. Actually, no. Ebola has a cure now.
Really?
Ebola has a cure,
No shit.
not a vaccine,
How come we didn't hear about this?
because Ebola epidemic isn't as large right now when they came up with the cure.
So they came up with, must have been within the last 5 or 6 years then.
Dude, it was like in the last 5 months.
Oh, wow. Okay, shit.
Yeah.
So-
Ebola's huge, right? Ebola's one of those that you're bleeding through every orifice.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah,
it
the
makes
hot
you,
zone.
Basically,
Hot zone,
it makes
yeah.
your cells rupture, and so like all your mucous membranes, nose, eyes, mouth, lips.
Did you read that book, Juan?
I did. It fucked me up.
Me
man.
too, man. I was like, this shit is a straight up fucking 28 days later.
Yeah,
like,
But the thing is with
zombie
Ebola,
movie.
it's kind of Ebola is often referred to as a stupid virus.
Oh.
Because it kills things too quickly.
Right,
If you are
right.
thinking about from an evolutionary perspective, you want to reproduce as much as possible. If you kill your host too quickly, you can't reproduce and spread.
I see.
HIV is a pain in the ass to get rid of because people don't know I have HIV until after 8 years of contracting it.
Wow.
And who knows how many people they spread it to during that time.
Damn. Yeah.
And not just that, it doesn't kill you instantly.
Right.
So when you see someone who had Ebola, they die, you douse the body in bleach, and then you wrap it up and don't touch it, Ebola's gone. There it is. Bada bing, bada boom.
I see.
But,
Yeah, but when you're on a plane and the person's like,
well, next, yeah.
Get that fucking thing out of here.
Yeah. But the thing is, Ebola's still, like, look at HIV. HIV is found on every single continent that
Yeah.
human beings
more
have inhabited.
successful virus.
Right.
You would say.
It's probably very successful amongst humans. It's found in Asia. It's found in Africa. Obviously, it's found in the United States. It's found everywhere where human beings live.
Right.
Ebola is not.
Right.
So
It's a
even though
dumb virus.
Ebola is scary because it kills in a very gruesome way,
Right.
and it also kills you very quickly and seems almost unstoppable.
Right.
It, honestly, it's really hyped, but HIV regarded as way worse because
I
it's
see.
way more widespread. But you can survive on HIV way easier than you can Ebola. But HIV doesn't have a cure, and Ebola does.
But HIV is so much better treated now. Like, you can live such a fine life with that.
But you can't cure.
Okay.
You can't cure HIV though.
I see.
You can live with HIV.
Yeah, but you'll never
comfortably.
cure it.
You can't cure it, but you can cure Ebola now.
But I thought somebody actually did get cured of HIV.
I think there's somebody who couldn't even contract HIV as well. I think
Yeah,
there are
I
a few
think that.
people who couldn't.
So it's just an anomaly situation.
Yeah, I think that's
though.
an anomaly, and I think that they also said there's a study that came out recently. I want to say it was a longitudinal study where they were tracking homosexual and heterosexual couples where one of the partners had HIV, and they gave them this pill or this treatment or something, and essentially they were able to get this person to where they were not able to transmit HIV.
Right.
They were not cured of
Sexually.
HIV by They weren't cured by HIV through any means, but they were not able to transmit HIV sexually to their partners.
Right.
Even through unprotected sex.
Okay. So eventually that should get rid of it if you do
Honestly,
that to
if
everyone.
everybody who had HIV got that, we'd probably see it disappear.
Yeah.
Damn.
Interesting.
That makes me think about what's more likely to kill human beings. Like a very successful virus like that where it's just sneakily destroying you, or something like,
Some crazy epidemic that turns you into a zombie.
that
or
spikes.
kills you.
Well, no, because like Ebola is one of those that it reaches saturation really quickly, right? Like there's very few, like, because HIV is playing the long con.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like
The
you're
long
saying.
con seems
if you
more
are
reasonable to kill us
Ebola,
out.
If someone in a village of 18 people gets infected with Ebola could wipe out the village in a week.
Wow.
Someone might not go anywhere and transmit in a week. So,
But there's also certain viruses that survive outside the body, like, or outside in just like atmosphere. Like,
yeah, and
is
with
Ebola
that,
one of those?
It's Ebola. If someone sneezes on you, who has Ebola, they could probably transmit it
Yeah.
to you.
Fuck.
But it's not going to be like floating around in the air, flying around, because literally viruses require cells to reproduce, and while viruses can stay in like a cell and something else, when it lyses it gets onto your other cell.
Yeah.
It's very like there are airborne pathogens, but it's usually through like moisture in the air, like someone sneezes, someone coughing, more so than it's like this thing's flying through dry desert air trying to infect you.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah,
I see.
maybe Hollywood fucked me up too much.
I think Hollywood fucked up a lot of people, which honestly,
Right.
like, man, Hollywood. We were talking about socially. Hollywood fucked America up for science. It really did.
What do you mean?
I mean it in that
In every way.
usually scientists are really nerdy weirdos who are antisocial, or they're the main bad guy who did something fucked up and it went crazy. When
Right.
a lot of the, like, if you go watch a zombie movie, you can't watch a zombie movie nowadays which says, oh, there's just zombies. No, it's some sort of virus or some sort of insane rabies.
gotta be believable.
Or some scientists or doctors had something go wrong when they tried to resurrect a body or something. Right?
Yeah.
America's been made fearful of scientists, made fearful of intellect in general. If you go watch most really strong patriotic movies where there's some American badass who like is like usually a middle-aged white male with brown hair going to fuck his shit up with guns and shit, who's buff.
Shout out to Tom Cruise.
Yeah, the
I
main
had
character.
Mark Wahlberg in my mind.
Yeah, the main character, the main enemy, is a foreign evil intellectual.
Yeah.
Like
Russian, German.
German.
Yeah.
Even if you, man, I remember I watched Mission Impossible, the new one.
Yeah.
That was, honestly, I didn't know they all had hands. They all had hands, which surprised me because I never watched Mission Impossible before.
What do you mean? They were
They
fighting?
all could fight. They all had
fighting,
like
yeah.
hand-to-hand combat abilities, right?
Oh, I never seen it.
The one with Henry Cavill in it.
Oh, I want to see that one.
Yeah,
I
I
heard
saw
the
that.
fighting scene was good.
Yeah, I was like,
the one where
damn,
Tom Cruise is hanging off the fucking side of the plane.
That's
That's everyone. Dude. I remember Tom Cruise like hold his breath for like 4 minutes and passed out underwater in some underwater break and shit. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. I remember that scene.
But basically, then like Henry Cavill like knocks somebody through a pillar or some
Yeah.
shit. But basically, the bad guy, he was some
Yeah.
sort of like foreign, like I would have like ruined political stuff everywhere. Like America's been taught that like an intellectual person is almost like an evil person.
Yeah.
I remember when people were talking about George Bush versus Kerry. A lot of people were saying that they preferred Bush because Kerry seemed too smart for them.
Oh, yeah. I
Because
remember
they
about
thought
this.
that because Kerry was too smart, he can't understand what it's like to be them, one.
Yeah.
And two, that he could more easily trick them. which is
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
plot. Is a major plot device for a lot of movies in America. If you don't trust people who are smarter than you, why? Because they could trick you more easily. Because you're dumber than them, right? Because obviously they want to trick you, knowing you're dumber than them. Right?
Yeah.
And with the scientists, little do they know,
do?
they say, "Oh, these scientists, all these institutions, these liberal scientists pushing this agenda." It's like, dude. Most of these motherfuckers are broke.
Yeah.
Right, they ain't pushing any agenda.
They're not pushing any agenda, and they're not getting paid off from some big evil
Right.
SJW company you think has power. Because most SJWs
Right.
don't have money or power to begin with.
Right.
Like
No,
we
that-
The
complain
Republicans
about,
really have the power.
Yeah, we complain about social things because we benefit from those because we don't have money. And
Right.
so. And so it really sucks. It really
Dude,
sucks.
maybe they're afraid to give us money
Yeah,
because,
like the most common trope for a scientist in a movie is it's a mad scientist,
yeah.
you know, or a scientist
interesting.
whose morals are questionable.
Yeah. It makes a plot. That's why.
But
It
this
makes
is-
a plot, but reality is not like that. And I
Right.
think a lot of people watch these movies
Yeah.
and got tricked like that. You know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
with the Red Scare. I'm not afraid. Like, I think the Russian government's corrupt, but I'm not afraid of a random dude in Russia right now. In
Yeah.
fact, like, we probably like the same type of music.
Yeah.
But like they've trot us out like, okay, you know, Germans, there's some guys who still have Nazi values even in the 70s and 80s and 90s. All this Red Scare shit. Oh, there's a Russian bad guy. Ooh. It's basically the Cold War,
Right.
and remnants of that, because that's an easy low-hanging fruit to get to scare people against them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, I kind of hate it too. Like, Jurassic Park was one of those movies, right? Where they tried to fucking show scientists as like
Is that you mean the original or Chris?
the original,
Chris
the
one?
original.
The one with the
best
with,
one.
with the
Samuel
mosquito.
Jackson, the mosquito.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, man. I love that movie.
basically-
It's Samuel Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah,
He had
yeah,
a very
yeah.
small part.
Like, but you know, I mean that one. But props to Steven Spielberg for not making scientists look like total. Like, it actually shows some diversity. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
like good,
okay,
like good
yeah.
ones. But then all the other scientists are crazy hippies who are like all about the Earth a lot too.
That was the
Oh my
the
God.
Jeff Goldblum one. in
Or like,
Jurassic
oh,
Park.
That was the
there's-
second one, right?
And then
That's the first one.
And there's also one saying, "Oh, these." I remember the Godzilla movie. They're saying, "Oh, these were the animals that that really control the Earth."
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like super duper environmental terrorism stuff.
Right.
right. And or the Independence Day, whenever the alien guy, where he gets sodomized by an alien. Remember, he was like,
Oh, the dad or something?
not
or?
the dad. It was the hippie alien, the hippie guy. He's like the scientist. He was a scientist, and he was like, I can talk to these creatures. And then the alien, like, you don't remember this? You guys?
Oh,
when
he
was
went
the
into
last
he
time-
went into the room.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
the alien
yeah.
sodomized him, and he
Was that what
like-
happened? I was too young to
They
remember.
do,
I
ain't
just
no
know he
problem.
got
The only thing I
fucked
remember
up.
for that movie is when was it Will Smith, right?
Yeah.
When Will Smith punched an alien.
Yeah.
That's the only part I remember. He's like, "Welcome to Earth."
Yeah.
Something. I forgot if he said motherfucker or bitch or bastard. Or something, you know?
I heard he actually doesn't say that.
Yeah, it's one of those Mandela effect.
Mandela
Yeah,
effect.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
kidding me.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
Damn.
Everybody feels like he says "Welcome to Earth, motherfucker" or something, but he just says like something else, like "Welcome to Earth" or something.
Yeah, I thought I could have sworn he said like bitch or some shit.
Nah,
after.
I don't think he
Okay,
does.
next thing
What if he
you're
just
next
does-
thing next thing you're gonna tell me that in Die Hard he doesn't say yippee ki yay motherfucker.
No, he does.
Okay.
My whole life would be a lie if that was.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, but that was like one of the last few. I mean, besides like the Marvel movies nowadays showing scientists in good light, but Jurassic Park was probably one of the few ones that I'm like, it showed like a good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Spielberg. He was making some good ass movies back then.
But I think a lot of people in America, they think that, you know, intelligence.
Oh, nowadays, yeah.
Nowadays, especially.
Well,
they-
we're in the anti-intelligence.
we're the anti-intelligence era
generation
a lot
right now.
because
It's because the internet, man.
People are going to look back and look at Trump's tweets and all this shit in the future and just be like, how the fuck was this even possible?
And the thing is, it's crazy. It's like, oh my God, I'm not going to send my kid to school because where they're going to be corrupted by these liberal instructors. They're like, oh damn, wow.
Right.
A lot of the most educated people on the planet tend to feel a certain way about how things should be governed.
Right.
Very interesting. I wonder why. Maybe it's because they're smart motherfuckers
Right.
who actually know how to use their fucking brains.
Right.
I
And it's
don't
always
know.
funny how every major city tends to be liberal. It's like every time you get a major
educated city that has higher income.
It always
be
tends
that
to
way.
skew liberal.
And the thing is, basically, when you see most of the conservatives, it's like a lot of people who are higher up, very, very, very high up,
Yeah.
and then a lot of people who are very, very low. In the middle,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
all
It's liberal.
every-
Yeah. It's interesting, huh?
It is.
Yeah, we should talk to like a sociologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Next time.
I've read stuff because I actually know sociologists. They're telling me how, like, the whole us versus them. A lot of conservative people who tend to be who are also poor feel as though it's not their fault, and it's like almost like they're waiting for their big break for it. And
Right.
so a lot of times, you'd say, why would you ever look at Trump? If I grew up in Sop Choppy and I looked at Trump, I would say Trump and I share nothing in common.
Right.
But Trump gives you the idea that the only thing holding you back might be them and not you,
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for your big break. And there's been some studies on it. You can look up articles. But a lot of times they feel as though they're doing all they can, and pretty much they're millionaires just waiting for their big break. But
Well,
and
good luck with that.
Hope is a powerful drug, man.
yeah, is it hope?
Yeah, hope is a
Hope is a
Hope is
powerful
necessary,
drug,
though.
But hope should be put on having faith in your efforts more so than hoping something's going to change randomly out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we're probably about up
Oh, yeah.
on time because we're like at an hour and 15 or more here.
Probably
So
more,
let's
yeah.
go ahead and wrap her up.
But yeah, fun discussion, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was good.
Hey, thank you for making it this long.
You made it, guys. You are
Yes.
beautiful people.
Yes, congratulations.
Every single last one of you.
Yay! Like the kids shouting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the little stock sound.
Yeah, stock sound for kids cheering. That's what I want. All right, so yeah, thank you to our guest Jackson for also putting up with this, us in this discussion.
Yeah.
Asking stupid questions.
Yeah, hopefully we actually asked you some useful questions. It seemed like this time, Jackson.
Yeah.
More in your expertise.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah,
Challenged you a little bit,
yeah.
So
But yeah, guys, just make sure once again, subscribe to our channel. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. And yeah, guys, follow us on Twitter at Eigenbros, and that's it.
All right.
So we'll see you around.
yeah, peace.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?